Okay, Judy, today we're working on, we're just kind of going to set ourselves up for some of these different chords we're going to use on our folk song. So when we did This Land Is Your Land, we added that diminished chord, and there's a way to talk about chord construction and things like that that is a little bit easier. It's like using the right language when you're talking about something like that. So we're going to work on it a little bit. Now, we're gonna think of things as being on a capo when we're using them. Obviously, if we're thinking A chord with a capo on here, we're thinking about it in terms of that. But I want to think more linearly. Okay, so this note A, your root note A, is going to be the root of the scale. So we're going to play the scale going up the A string. So A, and the next one of the scale is a whole step up, and the next one is a whole step up. Right? That makes your A major scale. Right? That's your first, your second, and your third, your major third right there. First, second, third, then the fourth, that's your half step. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then if we went another whole step, we get to 5. 5. So we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, or just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your major third right here. Now the first trick is going to be working on just that major third. So I want you to think root, skip the second, and then go to the third. If it helps to walk through it, it's okay. Okay, but eventually I want you to get to the point where you're going root, third. You can count it as being 2 frets, 2 frets. There you go. That's the whole 2 whole steps. So root, third. Okay, and I'll walk you through it this way. Root, third. Skip the fourth this time, and go to the fifth. So you have the root, skip the second. There's your third. Skip the fourth, go to the fifth. And then once that feels good, you can start going like this. Root, third, fifth. You just played the notes that make up that A major chord. You played the root, there's a major third in between, and then a minor third above it. Okay? You went root, 4 frets to the third, and 3 frets to the fifth. Okay? That's 2 whole steps, followed by a whole plus a half, a step and a half. Okay? So if you're going root, third, fifth, and you're visualizing it, you're going through the second, and through the fourth to get to the fifth. You just played the notes that make up the major A major chord. Now, when we start talking about turning an A major chord into an A minor chord, we're altering the third here. So where we went root, second, major third, I'm going to make you go back a fret. So we went root, major third, minor third. Now I want you to think about those terms. Root, major third, I'm not playing it, but then I am going to flatten it. Minor third. Root, minor third. And then the fifth is where it always is. Fifth doesn't get altered in this case, okay? So the root, minor third, fifth. Root, this is a major third. Fifth becomes a minor third. Root, minor third, fifth. That's what makes up the difference between an A chord and an A minor chord. One note, okay? Now, it looks weird because we have to move a ton of fingers to change one note, but all that's happening is this C sharp right here goes down to C natural to play an A minor chord. So we have an A chord, and then our fingers move around so that we can now hear an A minor chord. Now, this looks like an E chord when you see it. It looks like an E chord has been moved down a string, sorry. But all that's really happening is this note has moved from C sharp to C natural. Okay? That is the difference between an A chord and an A minor chord. And really, that's just the concept of changing things from a major chord to a minor chord in general. One note is going to change. Where it may be a bit harder is when you start thinking about chords that have, remember we said on a guitar, each of these strings is trying to play one note of the chord, whichever note is closest to that open note. So sometimes you may have a chord that plays 2 thirds in it. Okay, so you have to change 2 notes, but they're the same note. They're just probably in different octaves or whatever. It doesn't happen very often. And it doesn't happen in any chord we got to worry about for a long time. Okay, so for the most part, that third's probably going to only be played once in the chord, and then you're going to find that note, the third, and alter it down. If that's too much to think about right now, don't worry about it. Okay, but for right now, that's all I really want you to get out of that. But I do want you to be able to play the 7th in these notes too. So let's go back to what we did before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to be talking about nothing but major chords right now. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's keep going. There's another whole step, and then the root again. Now, this was your leading tone seventh, which is the regular seventh we always talk about. Leading tone back up to the root again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the one that feels like it wants you to finish it off. So it's like, there you go. It feels good to go to the root again. Because we're playing this on an open string, you can always find the root above. Okay? So if we're thinking about that regular seventh, it's 1 fret behind. If we talk about the flat 7, it means this note right here is a flattened 1 more fret. And that is your flat 7. When we play an A7 chord, we're playing an A chord with that flat 7 in it. Okay? That's how you get to this. Okay? But all it is it's a regular old A chord with the flat 7 in it. Let's try and play that arpeggio. The root, skip the second, go to the third, skip the fourth, go to the fifth. Let's do that again. Root, third, fifth, and now I want to add the flat 7. If you need to visualize it, think root and then backwards 2 frets. Okay, because it's your flat 7. So root, major third, fifth, and then your flat 7. Okay? That's all I want you to get out of that. Now, let's talk about how we did those in a chord. Okay? So we have an A chord. And remember we said turning an A chord into an A minor, you change that third, you flatten the third. When we're talking about this chord, we're talking about adding a note to the chord. In this case, if it's an A7 chord, we're adding the flat 7 to the chord. So we have an A. We want to add the flat 7. In this case, this is our A right here. Middle finger plays A. So we're actually going to take that note out. Okay, but what we're really doing is adding the open note G, which is this note right here, to the chord. Okay, so we have from an A to A7. Okay, A, A7. Now, the rule is exactly the same when you're playing a minor chord. So if we play an A minor chord, it's a different finger that's playing the note, but that's your root A right there. So if we take that finger off, we now have A minor 7. A minor, A minor 7. Okay? So we're going to work on A. I'm going to get it so you can see the daggone thing. What's that? A, A7. A, A7. Back to A, A minor. Okay, A, A minor. Now let's play A minor 7. Take your ring finger off. A minor 7. Okay, so it's minor because that note here is playing the minor note. It's 7 because we're adding the flat 7 to it. And that's it. That's all I want you to get out of this week. Theoretically, you could do the exact same exercise of the open strings, playing all these notes on all the strings. But let's stick to the A right now. We're worried about just playing their notes that make up that arpeggio for the A chord, the A minor chord, and then the notes that make up the A7 chord. Okay? You could also add the A minor 7 if you want. Those notes would be like this. If you're thinking A, the root, skip to the 2, it's a minor note. So think about your major third and move it back to this note. That's your minor third. So it's a flat 3, root, the flat third or the minor third. Fifth stays the same, and then the flat 7 is the same. Okay, so I'm going to do the major 7th, the A major 7 chord, and the A minor 7 chord, the arpeggio along this string. So A major 7 sounds like this. 1, skip the 2, go to the 3, the 5th, and then go to the flat 7. Do that again. And then let's do the A minor 7 arpeggio. It means you have the open note, you flatten the 3, you have the regular old 5th, and the flat 7. Here it comes again, open, flat 3, 5th, and the flat 7. So all I want you to get this week. And we'll work on a little bit further at kind of taking this on different root notes and doing under different chords too. But for right now, that's good. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good one.